So good evening and welcome to the very first podcast of Framing Reality. My name is Alexis Latham, and the whole point of this podcast is really to look at the paradox of storytelling. Because on one side, we know that storytelling is incredibly powerful. I was just found a quote today from Daniel Pink. He wrote this book called A Whole New Mind. He believes that storytelling is going to be one of the most important sixth senses of the future. So in this world of data, and we'll be talking about data and facts a little bit later on with my guest, if you can create a compelling narrative to connect people to it, then it's going to be very, very useful and very, very powerful for you. But we know stories, they can inspire, they can motivate, and they can liberate people. But they can also trap people, and they can also be used to control us. And that is really the investigation I'd like to do. And that's why in these series of podcasts, I've got different people from different areas of the world. I've got filmmakers, sculptors, coaches from the world of sport, journalists, teachers, to really look at certain elements to see how critical is narrative to their work. And we're really lucky to have somebody here with us tonight from the world of sports. So we have Kornél Váradi here in the studio with us. Hello, Kornél.
Hello.
And Kornél, I believe you represented Hungary at all age groups as a basketball player. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes, I did.
And had a highly successful career for 6 years until you had a knee injury, which took you out of the sport, but then you re-entered the sport as a coach. So thanks very much. And I mean, you know, the world of sport's a long way from my world. My world is the world of theatre and filmmaking. And there are certain areas that I think are quite important in that. You know, if you're putting on a narrative for people to watch, the start's important, how you handle change, anticipation, cause and effect, and of course having a good end, which is probably very important for you in the world of sport. But, you know, as a coach, obviously, you've got many, many different responsibilities. So let's just kick off. I mean, how do you use narrative in your role as a coach?
Oh, first of all, my biggest responsibility is to lead my team, and I need a good selection. First of all, I have to build up the core of a team, and it always depends on the money, always depends on domestic player, foreign players, and I have to put it together, and it works well if they fit to each other, and this is very important, and I think this is the hardest question, because you never know what's going on at the end. Because during the summer, you talk to a few players, you talk to them like, what's your expectation from them? You know the Hungarian players much better because, like how you said, I was a player. And I knew a lot of them, most of them. But you never know how they react when you put them together. And that's why important, like, you can see the basketball skills, but for me, much more important, the human being, like how they react on different situations, how they can behave in a group, because the season is so long. And for 10 months, far away from family, especially for foreigners coming from overseas, then you have to create a good environment where they can improve, where they like to be, and it has to be so familiar with each other. And I think this is the hardest way. And this is my biggest responsibility in that.
Okay, so you're talking very much about putting that sort of jigsaw puzzle of the team together. What is it that, you know, what allows you to feel you get a sense of knowing them and what their story is? I mean, you talked about watching them and how they play on the court, but there must be other things that you're looking for to get a sense of them.
It's like, yes, for sure. Like, he needs good basketball skills.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm watching a lot of games about them. It's like 4 or 5 games from every player. Like, I like to watch his best game, and I like to watch his worst game, because even if he doesn't have a good performance, then I can see how he reacts on that situation, because we will have a lot of best situation during the season. and everybody has to be cool, and he need a good discipline, and that's why it's important for me.
This is really interesting. So if I can just ask you, what if, let's say, you're looking at prospective players and you go out there and, you want to look at the good, when they're very successful, like you said, and when they have a bad match. And I think from the world, if I'm thinking about storytelling, the concept of change is critical in a story, because that's where we see how a character develops. So for you, what is the, let's say, what is the marker? What is the thing that makes you go, aha?
For me, most important to be dominant. He has to dominate and to be dominant on the court. Even if you make some mistake, even if you have some good things. And I don't like when someone is behaving as a star, because then you don't need to show that, because anyway, if you are good, everybody knows like you the best. And in my philosophy, I really like when one player is, it's not so good to say that, but he has to be a goldfish, because during the game you cannot change anything. So whatever happened, that's the past. And you have to keep going. You have to fall forward. There is another possession, and you have to keep going. I really don't like when I see one player make some mistake, and then next he is not focusing on defense, and he make another mistake, because that means he doesn't give his best to the team. And especially if he's like a main player of the team and he do like this, then we start to go down as a team, and this is not good. And so this is my philosophy, just always. We goldfish, just focus on next position and just keep going forward.
And by goldfish, you mean, a memory of 2
yes,
seconds.
Yes, you have to
forget and you move on.
Yes.
But what does that allow the player and the team to do if they do have a memory of a goldfish then?
So we have discipline. We have a game plan, and they need to follow that. This is very important, because then if we have a good game plan, then what we prepared during the week, then this is like it's like a safety for all of us. What is helping a lot when we are in a bad situation, and that's why, like, even if you can realize one thing and you do something bad, you just have to trust in each other, push in each other, stick together, and just keep fighting. And that's why I'm looking for a player who is not acting after some mistake, like a superstar who has some problem. And that's why he needs good discipline to get ready for the next step and to help for the team.
How do you plan the game plan?
I got assistant coach, and we do scout. And this is like a scouting report about the opponent, like offense, defense, individual skills, and we see how we can attack them. I like to attack always, not just to be in a defensive position and just waiting for our 5 minutes. I like when we can dominate on the court. And that's why everybody has to be prepared from the game plan, just to know against his opponent, like who go to left, who go to right, their sets, what they're running in an offense. Because then if we can deny a few situations what they really like to play, then slowly, step by step, we start to destroy them, and they are out of comfort, and this is good. My other thing, what I always saying to my players, is better act than react. Because if you just react always, then you're gonna follow the actions, and then we're gonna fall out totally if they change something, and then the game plan and everything is destroyed. And this is very important for me when I'm looking for a player. And when I'm looking for a player, I forget to tell you that I'm always talking to his former coaches, like 3-4 coaches, like how he's doing on the court, off the court, on the practices, about his mentality, like what about the family situation, because this is very important in a foreigner to handle this. Because anyway, I know Hungarians, but if someone is coming, and 2 months ago I didn't know him, then I have to get the right informations, and that could be much easier, because these are like small details, but I like to work on details, because then if we can put it together, then we can be success.
You talked about, always going forward. That seems, being proactive rather than reactive. What else allows you to be proactive? Because you can, in a way, let's say if we put it into a storytelling metaphor, you are saying to your team, you lead the narrative, you dictate the narrative of what's happening on the game. And they can do it by attacking. How else can they do it?
If you deny one situation, if you can change the rhythm of the game, if we are playing in our comfort zone, in our rhythm, because that's another pressure on our opponent, and this is what we need, because this is comfortable for us and not comfortable for them. You can react on that situation if you did it well before and you prepared that. You prepared that on the practice. But on the game, I have to analyze the opponent coach, and then I can say, okay, if he called timeout or not, then what he's thinking about. Then we change like small lineup, tall lineup, right, with different subs, and how he react on that. And then you can feel it when that's a moment like he's scared or he changed his game plan, because anyway, we're scouting the opponent coach too. And if he changed that, and many times like you can hear it from the fans. So when you down and everything is going like comfortable and they are by 8-10, okay guys, now we can do that. Because now they are pretty little lazy, they are comfortable, and maybe they're not ready when we start another attack. So this is like, I cannot say that it's like an instinct. What you feeling? It's all around the gym, like, okay, what's going on right now? Now everybody is in calm. Now we can change something.
Brilliant. Okay, now it's very interesting because change is essential. I mean, in storytelling, we need change to move the action forward. It's essential. Otherwise, we get bored. But it's very interesting that change is the critical moment. If we move to, because obviously, that's it. We talked about the game plan, but let's say individual players. How do you motivate an individual?
I respect all of them. It's a human being. Okay, they are professional basketball player, but they are doing their hobby, but they are all human. And I have to understand that, and I'm really open-minded as a coach, and I like to talk to them like before practice, after practice, say what's going on, what's the situation with your family, like everything, just to let us know if there is something what disturb or bothering you, just let me know, because I need to know that as a coach, because we're not just living together on the court, just one part, we're living together off the court too, because anything happens off the court, it's gonna affect on the game.
How do you, this is going slightly off the track that I wanted to, but it's really around your role as the coach. Because I would imagine, so on one side you're saying you've got to be, you've got to create a sense of security and intimacy so that these people are honest with you and you find out what's going on with them. But presumably on the other side, you've also got to sometimes be quite tough with them. And how do you balance that? Because if perhaps one day you've been very tough with them, and then the next day you're expecting them to open up to you.
If you had good connection with them, then they're gonna understand why. If I talk to a player, then I'm always talking about my side too. It's like before the season, same thing. Like when I say my expectation, then I always say the work, like how I work, and what I like, what I don't like. And when they arrive, especially first 2 months, we're talking about discipline, we're talking about rules, because without rules, you cannot build up any system. But after this, if they know me and I'm open to them, then they will know when I'm angry and why I'm angry on them. And this is important, because then even if they don't understand in the first moment, then after the practice, I have to talk to him like, hey, that moment, this is unacceptable for me because of the team. Anyway, we got a good connection, but you have to do like that. And on the court, emotions are dominating.
Right.
And okay, I have to control my emotions, but I like when my players are playing with lot of emotions. under control and good emotions, what is giving a lot of good for us, but they have to be so emotional, even on the practice and on the game too.
And why? Why are the emotions so? What do they bring to the play then?
It brings some extra energy, and then the team can stick together much better if you have emotions. Because we are not robots. Like we got emotions, and this is normal. Just we need to control all of us, and we have to respect the rules, and we need discipline. And then if we can put it together, if someone has any problem, like he's overreacting or something like that, then we are still as a team. And this is very important for us. Like I really like listening. And for me, basketball is like that from one part. I really like listening symphonic music, because this is like a magic. Like everybody knows his role, when to jump in. Because even one guy or somebody just make one mistake, then it's not the same show and not the same performance. And the same thing in basketball.
If it's sort of still on this idea of emotions and what you're talking about, at the beginning, at the start of a match or a game, I don't know whether it's, how you term it, but how important is the theatre of it? The way that they are actually stepping onto the court.
It's all about the warm up before the game, and it's an attitude. It's not a basketball skill. It's an attitude, like how you prepare for the game. But when you got the tip off, like your body language has to be like, I want to beat you, and that's what I like. I always like to play first 3-4 minutes, so aggressive, but don't overreact any situation. Just keep the plan, but you have to be aggressive.
Do you actually work with them on their attitudes as individuals and say, look, your attitude, it's not a clear attitude?
Yes, we have a lot of individual sessions, like especially post-game analyze, and then we sit with the players. We have it individual or small groups, and we have a team session too. And then I can show them clearly, because video never lies when we watch it back. Like, hey, your attitude, look at your body language right now. Look at that. Like, that was a situation, and after you were totally out of focus. And you cannot behave on the court like this, because then, like, we are that weak, like how you performing. Even 4 other players who is playing with you, they got a good performance. But if you weak like that, then you are the weakest point, and they gonna destroy us. And and all of the team member has to understand this, and that's why we have a lot of individual session. Now we start to work with a sports psychologist, just because of this, especially because we have a lot of young guys too, and especially because of different culture, like how from where they arrived. Because with an American guy who wants to show himself always, you don't need to work that much on that. It's like, but with a Hungarian or with a role player, then you have to teach him. You have to act on the court like a real professional who is dominating. And you like, if your role to be a lockdown defender, then you have to do that with full of confidence. Because if you don't do that full of confidence, then you are not. You cannot do your role. And that's why we have individual session mostly, and speeches. Sometimes I go for a coffee with the players, because this is much more intimate, not just talking in the gym, because that's the workplace. And this is some kind of respect to the player, what I give to him. And that's why they have to understand what I want individually from them.
Okay. How important do you think it is having one word that people are able to identify with as a team?
Yes, okay, we can say almost like we are the goldfishes, but this is not so good. But this is, I use most of the time like warriors. We have to be warriors, and to the coaches and to the fans, I always try to say this, like, I want to see on the court like warriors, because because we need that. We are not the highest level team with a lot of young guys who didn't show that much up to this time in the first division, and everybody has to get ready to fight, because that's the only one way to be competitive.
And how much does that help you, having that concept of, look, we're the Warriors, this is how we do it, when you sit with somebody and have an individual feedback? Or how much does it help them re-engage with and focus on what they've got to do? Just having that simplicity of, we're the Warriors.
I think this is much more easier for them, because if you are a warrior, it's not about a basketball skill. It's like an attitude. And then after this, we can talk about basketball skills. Even if you are not like a national team player, you're not on that level, then if you are fighting, then you can compare few things. And that gives a lot. And I think after this, that's going to be easier for them too, because I don't put pressure on them in a basketball skill, but it's depend on the opponent and everything. I just try to push them on their mentality, like you have to be, and this is easier way for a player if he has the good attitude.
Great. Okay. So I'm just sort of putting it together, but it's very interesting for me, this concept of having this one word, and that in a way informs the mentality for the player. It simplifies, it gives them a focus, and it gives you a way to judge their performance as well, rather than breaking it down into too many complex elements. Great. And if what about if let's say I don't know, how much do you work on with data? I mean, you said that you have a psychologist, who's a sports psychologist, who's come in, but do you have a data analyst who analyzes the data of your team, the people and the players and how they're performing? Are you looking at numbers at all?
Yes, we have like a scouting coach,
right?
And we, after every game, we analyze every data, like how many transitions we have, how many rebounds, like plus minus, like who give a lot to the team, who go to minus. We have more assists, what we pushing to each other, what is like essence of the game, to score, to involve everyone.
And were you ever surprised, let's say, you watch a match and you obviously have one interpretation of the story of what's happened, and then, the sports scouts comes and shows you the data and that gives you another interpretation. Has that ever happened that you've been surprised?
Yes,
right.
we had a game, what we won against a pretty good team. And all game I felt like, and after the game I had a speech and I told them, hey guys, that was perfect. We controlled the game, we control rebounds, and this is very important for me. And that's a pretty good job. And after we start to talk about and we watch the data, and we have a lot of terrible box out, they got more rebounds. And I just say, okay, then how we won that game? But after that, we won that game because we had that attitude. We wanted to beat them. And in the crucial moments, we were sharp and we could get 50-50 balls. But it's very important when you start to fight for a ball, and we could get it. And that was the key fact, not the rebounding. But then on Monday, I told them, okay, guys, our rebounding was terrible, but we could win somehow else because you did a great job as a mentality.
So what do you think is more, which do you think is more important? How much does that data help you?
Data are useful, but you cannot use it only as numbers. You have to compare it with the game. That's why usually after the game, I don't talk to them that much. I just go, hey, congratulations, or hey, let's head up. We got the next job. Just keep going. And on Monday, when everybody cool down, then we can see the clear picture, and then we can start to focus on the next job.
And is that because emotions are too high after the match, and people don't have clear heads?
Yeah, anyway, as a coach, you involved so much, and maybe you don't see that situation right. And after I'm angry because on one guy, because I think he made some betting. But after that, if I watch the game, then, oh, that was not your mistake. He got a mistake before. Just you try to fix somehow, and sorry, I watched the situation. And that's why I learned that, because I did it before many times, and I learned that. It's better to say nothing than start Monday, hey, sorry, that was my fault. Okay, sometimes it happened like this, but I don't want to overreact after the game. I had it before.
So you always give yourself time after the game to build up the clear picture as much as possible of the story of what happened, rather than just going on your sort of personal impulse.
Okay, sometimes you have to do that.
Yeah.
Like attack him immediately but it has to be like a big mistake, like he doesn't respect something in the team, some rule, or he doesn't play with discipline, then I have to react, because I have to protect the team, the spirit of the team. But if this is like a small details, okay, just let it go. We're going to talk about it later.
Good. All right. How have you used story to motivate people? I mean, do you ever tell people personal stories, or tell people about, great basketball stories from the past, just to get people into into the right mental state?
It depends on. I have a lot of stories about basketball, especially from my side, like after injury and everything, because that was like hard years when I couldn't play on my maximum, and I try to push them on that way, just why you need to take care of you, and like, hey, you got a big chance because you're still on the court. I stopped to play basketball when I was 22, and you still have the chance. Like I cannot accept like you don't give your maximum because you are so lucky. But there are like.
And why? Why do you use your own personal story there? What's the benefit you get from using
like
that?
What we talked before, like if you have personal connection with your player and they know you, then you have a much better relationship with them. And then if I'm angry and they know why I'm angry, because I wanted to do, if I'm a player and I wanted to get that ball and you didn't get it because you were lazy or you were not focused, and then he's gonna realize, okay, now the coach is angry on me because of that. But I want to tell them a lot of stories, like about superstars, like how they reach their goals, how they work hard.
Can you give us an example, one of the stories you use, which is one that you've used recently?
It's like, I really like Michael Jordan, who can change his game. Even he get older, he changed his game in every season. And he was just not like everybody knows Michael Jordan, the best scorer, the best dunker, but he was the best defensive player too. And everybody wants to stop Michael Jordan. But then he learned how to share the ball. Then he got some other actions, how to beat the opponent. And this is good. Like, they need to get ready to improve every game, every day, because that's the only one way to be professional and to be on a higher level. And I really like this, because like Michael Jordan for me is like a top. And other player is Cristiano Ronaldo.
Who's not a basketball player.
Not a basketball player, but how he take care of his body, and like how he build up his life. That's why he's 40 years old and still have a good performance, because this is very important for players too. I just one story about that. Americans, when they coming from the college, they got like hard rules. Okay, now you got stretching, then you have to go to weight room. And when they arrive, oh, hey, coach, I hate stretching. I did it a lot. And I don't like to go to weight room that much. And I said, okay, and what's going on 5 years later? And hey, what? Then you're going to get hurt because you don't stretch. Then you're not going to be so physical because you don't go to weight room. You come to Europe, to get money far away from family, you have to be professional. Like every year, you have to go up on a higher level. But if you now miss stretching, if you skip that, then you're going to limit yourself. And this is not good. Even the same thing for Hungarians, because they don't like that, especially young guys. Just try to play 505. I want to play. No, this is not about just play. You have to do a lot of things, how you build up yourself for the future too.
Mm-hmm. And, we're talking about physical health and being healthy. How did your knee injury happen? Did it happen on the court or did it happen outside of the court?
No, it happened on the court. Yeah. We were in European Championship. I was like one of the best players of the team, and I had really good offers from the States, from top teams in Europe. And then I get hurt, and after I had 8 surgeries, and it was one time when I almost lost one of my leg because of an infection, but I was back on the court. And after this, I could reach like Hungarian title. I got invitation to the Hungarian national team, but how the time was going, like I was frustrated because it was not the same guy like before, and it was pretty hard in mental. And then it was a bad story with one of my team who fired me almost at the beginning of the season. And after they gave me another offer, like so low money, what was like not yet good to risk my health. And then I stopped to play basketball and turned to be a coach. And as a coach, my goal to play or to coach in the gyms and in the arenas where I couldn't go because of my knee. Now I wanted to go and to feel this as a coach, because then my knee cannot stop me.
And how easy was it for you to sort of change that mentality for yourself? Because the story changes. How long did it take you?
I think, to be honest, still not over. So it's like almost 15 years, but it's still not over but I think this is a positive too, because then I can think about basketball and within the team. When I talk to a player, I can think as a player too, because I still didn't forget it. But it was so hard, because like when you see someone did something wrong, then okay, I could do like that. But come on, man, you change your mind. Now you're out of the court. But this is like a small line, but this is much harder to step over it.
And when did you know, going back to your playing days, when did you know that, let's say, you were special, that you had got the talent to make a success out of it?
As a player?
Yeah. How old were you?
I grew up in a basketball family, and everything was about basketball. And when I was 15 years old, and I played against under 18 teams. It was a Hungarian Championship Final 8, and I had pretty good games, and I was in the All-Star 5, and like five best player of the tournament, and I was almost 3 years younger, and then I realized that I'm good. I didn't believe that, but I realized, and after this, maybe that was one of the biggest mistake. Like, I pushed myself that much without any chill, just to focus on basketball. Just keep going. You have to do that because you're good. And that's why I think, because when I get hurt, I played every game 35 minutes against the top teams, and I was pretty tired during the summer after a long season. And maybe I had to be smarter, but I had to get the chance to move away and to be a foreigner.
And you were able to go away and be a foreigner.
Yeah, I had options to go to States for good universities. I have options to get top league in Europe, and after that, when I injured, everybody say, okay, just do your rehabilitation and you just keep in touch. And this is pretty tough, because anyway, if I signed earlier, then I can do my rehab there, and maybe that's a totally different story. But life is like that.
Yeah, and here you are now. Okay. How important is it for you to, when you're speaking to your team, to get them to sort of focus on the end? Because you talked about goldfish, but do they also have that idea in their mind of what it could be like to be winning? I mean, do you put that in mind at the beginning?
Like, they are professionals, and they
Right,
they professionals because they want to win. Because if you win and you are in a winner team, then it's much easier for you to get more money, to be on a higher level. But because they are athletes, for them, the first thing, I want to beat my opponent, and they have to realize that in every minute. I really like when we are some kind of underdogs, because then you play without any pressure, and you can do some good things.
Right.
If you are under pressure, then everything is limited, because then you don't risk that much, or the players doesn't risk that much, because they know that's a crucial game. But when we start to build up the game plan, then I always tell them, okay, we got this. If we do it right, and I'm right, then we can win this game. And then everybody, okay, it's like always, when some team is winning, the players are great, but if the team is losing, the coach is stupid. So this is like usual.
Right.
But if you do this and we lose, that's my bad. If you respect everything what we talk about. So if you go in another way and you don't respect the rules and discipline, this is your fault, and this is not acceptable for me.
So that's how you take that sort of pressure off them, by saying, okay, this is the plan. If we do this, we can win. And I'm taking responsibility for that.
Yes.
So you just get on and follow it.
Yes. Anyway, if we got a meeting with the GM or president, then I like to always protect my players. And I want to be the first guy who talk to them about okay, there is sometime like when the leader of the teams are coming for a meeting, if you have bad performance, but as much as I can, I try to protect them, because they have to believe in me and I have to believe in them. And that's the only way how we can improve together.
Okay, if everything you've spoken about, I mean, if I put a sort of storytelling filter on it, a narrative filter, it seems like you feel you're not the sole architect of the story of the team, but you are, one of the key architects along with the players themselves. But it's very much a group, let's say, practice to make this story work. And you're obviously deeply invested emotionally in them, because you say, without that connection, you can't. So how easy is it, because it's also a profession being a basketball coach, how easy is it, if you get another offer from somewhere else, for you to just cut that connection and move somewhere else?
That's part of the business. So, and if you have a good connection with any player or with the management of the team, then this is much easier. But you always have to think about, like, this is a better option for you, and then you have to get it, because everybody wants to work in a higher level, in a better environment, even for better money, because we are professional. The same thing for the players. Like, if one of my players, especially, we got like 10, 11 months contract. Okay, with the Hungarians, we have a little longer. But after a season, if some foreigner gonna move, this is not a bad thing for me. And I hope he can move like in a better team, because that means like we did a win-win situation. He's getting better, my team getting better, and I did a good job.
Okay. And if I was to ask you, this is a tough one, okay? In one word, could you define your story from player to coach? I mean, I love the Warriors emblem that you have for your team. What about for yourself?
About myself.
It could be a Hungarian word. I'll translate it if you want. But for yourself, well, several words. What would you say? What is your?
I have to think about because
Kornél's story.
It's like some part is like survivor, because I'm the guy who never gonna give up, and anything happen, like I try to change myself and keep going forward. Like that's why like a survivor. If something so bad thing happens, then I'm looking for the next option, and I'm gonna survive that.
Great. Okay. Kornél, thanks very, very much. It's very, very interesting. And it was not the connections between the storytelling elements were completely different to what I expected them to be from the point of view of a coach. But it was a much deeper insight than what I was thinking about from the beginning. And I really, it was very enjoyable to see, that one, but the sort of concept of one and how the Warriors simplifies the mindset for your team and the people on there. This whole element of change and cause and effect and how important that is and how much you look for it is also very, very interesting. And actually, I wish I'd known that before I even went to see a basketball match, because without knowing that, then you're probably not, I was sort of probably watching more for the outcomes rather than the process, which is what you're talking about here. But thanks very much. It's been a real pleasure, a real insight. Thank you.
That was a pleasure for me too. Thanks for the invitation.
Thanks.